Why then do we need to go out and work with all these other universities? Why do we have the collaboration? It's amazing, it's wonderful, but we have enough going on under our own roof. Why do you think, what drives us to constantly search inward and outward?
Because we want to be connected in providing care. Each of these facilities have an expertise. So when we join the expertise, we can give a whole picture, close to a whole picture of the research, and we can tackle different aspects of this illness rather than trying to do what we are best at doing.
Right. Hi, I'm Haylie Pomroy, the Assistant Director of the Integrative Medicine Program at the Institute for Neuro-Immune Medicine. Our goal is to provide you with hope and help if you're dealing with fatigue or chronic illness. And we cover a variety of subjects to give you access to what we have going on at our incredible institute. Today, I have a very special guest. It is Dr. Cheema. She is the director of the Clinical Research Division at the Institute for Neuro-Immune Medicine. She is also an assistant professor at the Dr. Kiran Patel College for Osteopathic Medicine here at NSU. She holds a PhD in nutritional biochemistry, and she sits as principal investigator and co-investigator of several phase 1 and 2 studies evaluating the immune system, anti-inflammatory effects in the body, as well as neuroprotective effects of bioactive natural products and nutraceuticals. Dr. Cheema, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm very excited to cover all that we have going on at the Institute.
Pleasure is entirely mine.
So we have a lot going on in research. One of the things that really was a little bit shocking, but impressive to me when I first came to the Institute was the concept of translational research, where we take ideas and concepts or maybe experiments that have been happening in the lab, and we put together research projects that are translated to the bedside or directly to the patient. Can you explain kind of for all of our community how that's different than maybe most research facilities?
So we have a clinic which is really next door to our research facility. We have a lab. We also have a computational modeling division. So what really happens is that we work in concert, right?
That's critical. It's impressive.
It is critical because we want to move the science forward in quick pace. We don't want to wait for years for it to get to a translational space. We have the capability and we are able to do so.
So I have a question for you personally. Coming to the Institute, you have a phenomenal background and one that's very near and dear, both from the nutrition, the nutraceutical, the biochemistry aspect. How did you find yourself at the Institute? What was attractive to you about it?
So actually, it's a funny story. When I joined the Institute, I joined it as an administrator.
Wow.
I did my research, I did my PhD thesis, and I was exhausted. I sort of took like a sabbatical from research, and I was trying to find a good fit. I came into the Institute and I saw firsthand the compassion and the dedication.
Right.
Not just the researchers, the whole team has towards the patient population. And that kind of motivated me and lit the fire, really, to jump back into research. And I ended up here, as the, investigator and now the director of the clinical research program.
That's exciting. We were talking before we started about how you kind of fall in love with the Institute, don't you? Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, it's an interesting, and I think you really struck a chord when you said it's the compassion, and we see that in our practitioners. But I think I get chills sometimes. I think what's even more impressive is the compassion in the research. I mean, we're supposed to, as scientists, have a very clinical approach or a very I'm going to say data-driven approach to what we do from research and not maybe have that empathy or that feeling, but especially when we're dealing with individuals with Gulf War injury, veterans. There is an avatar, a person human beings that have given a lot. And now we are trying to figure out what the heck is going on with their bodies and what positive intervention can be made. Can you talk a little bit about that aspect of our institute specifically? How are we doing research associated with getting veterans the help that they need?
So one thing that is integral to the Institute is involvement of the patients themselves in the design of the study and sometimes in the conduct. So they are involved in every aspect, right? When we do design a clinical trial, let's say, we keep them in mind. We keep their safety, their
lifestyle, their fatigue level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these particular studies are designed to keep these patients, which are the consumers, really.
I love that.
In mind, yes. And in case of the Gulf War illness, we have 5 to 6 veterans who are suffering from Gulf War illness that sit on a board, and they help out in design of a clinical trial. They help out in what they think would fit best for the veteran themselves, who are eager to participate in a study, but they're not able to because of the logistical issues.
Wow, I didn't know that. Two things that you just said. One is that the patient is the consumer. And I think so often we forget about that, and we walk in and we kind of turn over our health in a clinical setting, right? Maybe in the emergency room at the hospital, that might be a fit time to do that, but that the patient is the consumer, and receiving care in a way that fulfills the need is critical. But I never really thought about the patient being the consumer in research. I always thought about the disease or the problem that we were addressing as being the focal point. But I think you nailed what sets us apart in research is we do have, and I've gotten the opportunity to interview a few and definitely meet a few of the veterans that are on our board. We have human beings that are having these actual experiences that want to find solutions. They're hyper motivated because they not only have the empathy, they have the reality of it all. That's amazing. In research, if I were to say, what are the 3 things that we need to have successful translational research? One would be
funds.
Okay, great.
Nothing,
it takes money.
No organization runs without funds.
And a lot of times we're paying for these patients to come and stay. Yes. We're paying for them to have meals when they're there. We're paying for their bloods and labs and their clinical visits. It's not just funds to purchase, I'm going to use a real lay term, beakers and test tubes. We need to be able to support these because this is patient-based.
This is patient-based, and we use cutting-edge research. So there are equipments that needs to be purchased, for example.
Right.
There are tests that need to be conducted, and with integrity.
Right.
As well as the reach. How far do we want to reach a veteran that themselves are not able to come to a facility? We reach out to them.
Right.
And that costs.
Right.
So I would say money is one.
What is the other? I've given us 3 things. What is the other need that we have in doing research? And then I want to go back and talk about GWI specifically and a little bit about some of the current trials that we have going on. So we need funds. What else do we need?
We need the veterans.
We need the veterans.
We need the patients.
Okay.
We put a lot of time, painstaking hours, with the input from the Veteran Advocacy Committee. We created trials that are national, that reaches the veteran rather than the veteran reaching them.
Wonderful.
We don't have the veterans that we need.
So do we think that it's time consuming to participate? Is it that they're not aware that we're doing the trials? Is it that they're afraid to maybe get the diagnostics? Like I talked to Jimmy the other day, and he was talking about that a lot of times it takes a long time for a lot of our veterans to recognize that some of what they're experiencing is actually physical. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them feel that some of it is either post-traumatic stress syndrome, and there can be that component for sure, but that there's actual immune markers and diagnostics that we can show that there's something that has changed physically in their body, that it's not just mind over matter, or, that they are their thought process is off, that there's actually physiological shifts that has happened because of their exposures.
That's correct. I think another aspect is that our veterans are strong people.
Yeah.
So,
and they're selfless people.
They are selfless. They're strong.
We still have a volunteer military.
Exactly. So I think that also is kind of a hindrance for them to ask for help.
Right.
But you nailed it, when you said that there are physiological issues. We know that war-related exposures led to the neurological issues, the neuroimmune issues.
Right.
And also it led to mitochondrial dysfunction.
Right.
So it all together comes and creates a sickness behavior.
And we want them to know that through research, because we have the clinical aspect of it, our goal is to find help. Our goal is the hope part of it is that we know it's physiological. We know that it's happening in the mitochondria, in the brain tissue, in the nervous system, in the musculoskeletal tissue.
And we have means to help them.
We have means to help them. Absolutely.
We have, through years of research and clinical care, pinpointed certain molecular targets that we use them to identify the therapeutic agents in our research. And these are carefully crafted protocols. We stand behind these studies because we really think that this will help the veteran in need.
It is amazing. I've had the privilege of listening to some of the incredible health victories that a lot of these veterans have achieved. And it's moving, and it's so deserving. I think that's
Absolutely.
what hits me so much is they deserve better. And so we will continue to do outreach. I'm going to make sure that they know where to access us. So we need you, the old posters used to say, right? We need you to volunteer again. And this time it is for a group of people that were shoulder to shoulder with you in the Gulf War time period.
And this time it is for you.
It's for you, right? And it's also for your comrades. So because I was talking to Jimmy the other day, one of our advocates, and he was saying, look, your buddies need you. We need to know what's going on in your body so that we can take a body of one, right? Or an N of 10 or an N of 100 and help the thousands that are affected. And our federal government is clearly now saying that you were affected. And the research and the science is showing you were affected. Let us help you.
Yes. And there's been decades of research.
Yes.
Decades of effort.
Yes.
Of people such as Nancy Climate.
Yes.
She has spent 30 years from the very inception
That's
of
our boss.
That. Exactly. So that is really motivational. And I think that brings you back to what we have in our hearts.
Right.
We have compassion for you. We have goodwill for you. And we really want to help you because we think we can.
What are we, and we see it. So again, scientific, we see it. We are very results driven as a clinic and through research. I mean, I've seen so much research in the past where, itty bitty changes, and any change is better, right? Any change is better. But we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have massive impact in these patients' lives. Mm-hmm. We talk a second about Gulf War injury and why we're seeing this parallel, or why there seems to be a really organic marriage of individuals that have GWI and individuals that have ME/CFS, chronic fatigue, myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic illness in general, and now we're seeing it in chronic COVID or long haulers. We're seeing these kind of similar neuroinflammatory things. What are we doing in research? What types of trials are we doing right now? And I know that we're constantly doing new stuff, but what types of research are we doing right now? And is it specific to GWI? Just lay out a little bit of what's in this field right now.
So we have congressionally directed research program funded Gulf War Illness Clinical Trials Consortium. So we are the coordinating center, and we are also a clinical site. We have collaborated with risk centers throughout the nation and various academic as well as veteran affairs facilities. The intent there is to reach. Right? To reach the veteran.
So what GWI research is currently being conducted at the Institute?
So we have national studies. By national, I mean anywhere in United States, you could access the platform, you could access our team, and you will be in the study. The product will be shipped to you. The blood test kits will be shipped to you, and you will be provided links to platforms that actually can monitor how you feel. We could measure how the symptoms have progressed, whether they have improved or not. One such study is employing Bacopa monnieri.
What is Bacopa?
So Bacopa is more of a natural product.
I love it.
It's been used in Ayurvedic medicine, which is an ancient medicine still being practiced in India.
Yes.
And Bacopa is really a wonderful herb because it has neuromodulatory effect, it has antioxidants effect, and it also has anti-inflammatory effect. And these are the things that we are seeing in our Gulf War veterans.
I just want to say, so one thing that some of the feedback that I had gotten from our community when we had some other conversations about GWI research was that a lot of times some of the therapies that were suggested, or there wasn't a therapy, there wasn't that to clinic piece of it, right? There wasn't an intervention. It wasn't in line with what people wanted for their bodies. They felt like they had already had a lot of toxic exposure, obviously. And one of the things that was so amazing about the Bacopa trial was the intervention itself is a natural therapy. And the intervention itself is so well researched to address a lot of the core imbalances that occur with the exposure that these individuals have had. So it's almost like nurturing or nourishing the body back into a state of homeostasis. It's a very exciting study. And so we still need veterans for that study right now.
We do. And it's an adaptogen. So it not only targets the irregularities, it also brings your state back to where it should be, or closer to where it should be.
So an adaptogen, we think about our bodies being able to regulate or modulate stress in the immune system and our nervous system, and herbals. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but I always try to bring it to layman terms for our community. Herbals that nourish and nurture your body back into a state of homeostasis, or the ability to be more resilient to stress also, right?
Right, because we also have to look for the future.
Right.
You're not correcting an issue now. You also need to see whether your body is going to sustain itself in the future.
And we've seen a lot of people talk about even sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound, sensitivity to stress, being a reactive person with your children, with your partner. And a lot of those Ayurvedic adaptogenic herbs can help be just a stronger individual in your response to stress.
So it has antioxidant properties, and it also corrects some of the mitochondrial issues that the veterans are experiencing.
And with that, the body has, I'm going to, again, distill it down, more capacity to heal, more capacity to build bone and structure and muscle and
neurons.
And neurons, yes, and neurons.
It's a neurogenic herb
and
as
hormones.
Well.
And
yes,
hormones.
It does affect.
Yeah, positive impact there. So that is a phenomenal study that we have going on, and we need veterans to volunteer again. I know we asked a lot of you, this country, but we need you, and we want you, and we need to support you. When we are looking at, I love what you just said. I was just thinking back when you said we're not just trying to treat the past and the past exposure, but we're trying to create a stronger person for the future. I think that's really critical in designing a therapy for these individuals specifically. And when we're creating trials and research at the Institute, are we looking at the longevity of the patient, at the future of the patient always?
We are looking at resilience.
Got it.
We're looking at how this person who's going through these many physiological issues is going to sustain itself in future as close to healthy person as they can.
So it's funny because I've worked in the integrative medicine space. This will be 30 years now in integrative clinics for 30 years. I had never been in a clinic that had we had small in-house labs, but not the extent of the labs. We have a world-renowned lab, the labs that we have, and partnering with the research. I've never seen that. It's not a triad, it's all four, because the computational biology piece too. It makes for such dynamic patient care because we get to pluck our patients out and add them
directly into
research. And we also get to see the therapies that are in the process of research studies. And when it's ready for traditional patient use, know that we can add that to our repertoire. Mm-hmm. We can also draw blood, and get it quickly. We all can nudge everybody upstairs. We get it quickly so we know how to intervene so fast. I think it's really amazing. It's kind of the ideal model for care. So we need to keep our studies going. We need people. We need funding. What is the third thing that we need to ensure that we stay cutting edge?
We need more research.
More research, right.
Things are changing.
Things are changing.
Every second.
Yes, we are take the pandemic. Who knew we would all be frantically looking at the volume of blood labs that we had that Dr. Klimas had for decades. Mm-hmm. We suddenly started scouring through.
Yep.
What from her HIV research to viral reactivation with Epstein-Barr virus and CMV, we were scavenging through that and going, what in the world can we do for this? And we were just talking to Dr. Harris about, spike proteins permeating the blood-brain barrier. We never thought that was possible. It's so I love that. We need more research. What if you had a magic wand when you're looking 5 years down the road? What do you see as the most exciting thing happening in our research space? And you have all the money and you have all the people. I've just solved those for you. Because that's where true impact can happen for people, mm-hmm. right? When we don't have those bottlenecks or those things inhibiting us from the freedom of finding solutions.
Where I would like us to be would be as a whole person, which we sort of already are doing, but increase the capabilities. When a person comes in, we are able to map them genetically.
Right.
We are able to map them in terms of what are their epigenetic signatures, because all of these things, they do mold the way body functions.
Right.
And then, of course, with the wonders of computational biology, we bring them together and are able to bring the care back to the patient. So I think that's where I envision us to be.
Really,
we're halfway through.
We are further than I've seen anywhere, and I've been all over. but I share that with you, and it's so interesting. Even on the nutrition aspect and the biochemistry aspect is how we integrate with our food, right? It could be a plate of spinach, but it becomes something totally different in your body than in my body because it integrates with our epigenetics. It integrates with our genetic coding. It integrates with the enzymes you have and I don't, or the enzymes that are the hormones that I'm secreting that you're not because of mm-hmm. where I'm at in my cycle. We are having such a unique experience in this world, and medicine needs to value and honor and revere that.
Right. And on those terms, we do have another study which focuses on glutamate as an excitotoxin and how do we limit these free forms from our diet. Because we have a patient population that is suffering from all these different symptomologies, right? And because of their exposures to these acetylcholine esterase inhibitors in the past.
So because of the chemicals they were exposed to.
They were exposed to organophosphates.
Yes.
They were exposed to pesticides, right? They were exposed to the sarin nerve gas. So all this has sort of affected their neuroimmune space.
Right.
Created the neuroinflammation. It also has affected the way that body utilizes and secretes and uses the glutamate, right? And glutamate has receptors all over the body. It's not just an excitotoxin, right? And it's not just neurotransmitter. It is also now being related with the pain, how people perceive pain.
Yes. So we were looking at a case with RSD, pain syndrome, and they were looking at glutamate uptake. And then we had some, back, I'm always pulling a nutrition aspect. They were talking about the conversion with like commercial bone broth, how that can drive glutamate up in the body, and it excites the pain sensory. So basically, it can continue to tell you are in pain or you have pain long after pain, what induced pain is gone.
It's a chronic stressor.
It is a chronic stressor. They were talking about collagen. They were talking about commercial-based bone broths, things that maybe could be considered, someone might consider that a healthy thing to incorporate in. But in your body, if you're already struggling, it could be something that could be a neurotoxin. And it could be a catalyst for pain, and it could be a catalyst for just an overall feeling of agitation. I mean, that was fascinating. When we are fortunate that we have brilliant minds that meet all the time, but that we also checked the ego at the door a long, long time ago, and we lean into people from, globally that come in and work with us and speak to us, and we cross educate. That's unique, and incredible and impressive. I know that we are constantly doing new studies. Can you tell me additional studies that we have going on? So we have a glutamate study, a Bacopa study. Those are fascinating. And what else do we have?
So we have a study that is using N-acetylcysteine.
NAC, N-acetylcysteine.
It's a precursor to glutathione, and that is needed to get your redox state.
So it's another natural substance. It's a nutraceutical. It's a supplement, correct? N-acetylcysteine
is a very strong antioxidant.
Yes, and it's a very strong, so it can help not only with the neurotoxicity that these patients are dealing with.
Mitochondrial bioenergetics.
Right, so the energy level.
Yes. Because
energy and the fatigue and the brain fog. Right. Oh, that's an exciting study.
Yeah, and then another aspect.
Can I ask about how many patients do we need for that study?
So this study is split between different sites. So we have, of course, national component because we want to be able to reach the veteran.
Right.
If they're not closer to any of the veteran facilities, like Veteran Affairs or any of our study sites. So there's always a...
So it doesn't matter if they're in Kansas or New York or Missouri or Texas. Wonderful. So if you have a friend that is, and what's the time period? What's the time period for the Gulf War?
Yes. So it's Persian Gulf War, Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Okay.
1990 to 1991.
Okay.
Of course, we have different criterias because we want to make sure that you're a good fit and a safe fit for a study.
And sometimes if they come in and they register, that's why we like to talk to people on the phone too, is they might think that the Bacopa study sounds ideal, but once we start to analyze the situation, we have the flexibility and the ability to be nimble and put them in a study where we want them to receive the best benefit, the best care that they can.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
exciting.
Because sometimes because of the nature of the intervention, it may not be a good fit for you.
Right. Ooh, I love that. What other studies do we have?
So we have that N-acetylcysteine one. It also has a sub-study which measures not only the blood levels of glutathione, how N-acetylcysteine has improved the blood levels of glutathione, but it also checks in your brain whether it really improved it in the brain.
Nice.
Using the MRS imaging.
Oh, nice.
And that happens at Boston University and as well as in Cornell.
So both at Cornell and at Boston. And if a person is further away, do we have them travel there? Do we help them travel there? How does that work?
We do.
Okay.
But they don't need to be in that imaging sub-study. They could just be in the overall
nice
blood glutathione.
And then we can deliver what they need to their home. Okay, that's exciting. Great. And then what else?
So we also have a nicotinamide riboside study with Roskamp Institute. This also looks at the bioenergetics, and that is local, which means it is in South Florida. We do cover, to some extent, travel.
Wonderful. And that's, again, why it's important to talk to people individually, why we have a panel of people that can ask you questions and make sure that we're in service of the veterans.
Mm-hmm. And there's another study, which is, two actually. One is using TNF as well as glucocorticoid receptor antagonist. We call it as a reboot study because this is a study which is based on data from a previous phase 1 study using exactly the same combination therapy. And we did see really good improvement in the patient outcomes from that study.
So is this a phase 2 trial then?
This is a phase 1 still because we were looking at
different subsets. Oh, dosages. Okay, perfect.
So that's happening down at Miami VA.
Okay.
We're almost done with that study. So there's still some spots left. But that is almost close to being a curative study.
Wonderful. That's exciting.
It is very exciting.
Okay, so we want to make sure that we give everybody access to get, I promise I will get the phone number, the email access, any other studies that are currently going on. I know we always have new ones. We always are formulating new ones. We've been postulating all kinds of good things.
We are always working for the veterans. There is this upcoming study, again, down at Miami VA, which is using suppression of B cell to sort of like lower their memory, the assault.
The B cell memory?
B cell memory.
Okay.
And that study is going to be launched very soon.
Okay. Okay, great. So I just want to ask, we have in our institute, a really unique setup where we have our computational biology, our research, our clinic, and our lab. Why then do we need to go out and work with all these other universities? Why do we have the collaboration? It's amazing. It's wonderful, but we have enough going on under our own roof. Why do you think, what drives us to constantly search inward and outward?
Because we want to be connected in providing care. Each of these facilities have an expertise. So when we join the expertise, we can give a whole picture, close to a whole picture of the research. And we can tackle different aspects of this illness rather than trying to do what we are best at doing.
Right. So I want to first thank you so much for your time, but I want to leave our veterans and our GWI individuals, even if I was traveling with one of our colleagues, we were doing some international lecturing. It was really fun. We did a week long. And there was someone that was actually in the audience that started talking to us afterwards. And he was in the Persian Gulf. And just some of the stuff that we talked about, he said, I just thought that this was my destiny and I thought I was aging. And he actually came in when we got back and he saw one of our practitioners and we ran our cytokine profile, our immune profile, our viral profile. And it was shocking, really shocking. I think he identified with a lot of what we were talking about during the lectures. And I think being able to come up and kind of talk to us afterwards and us say, come in, like, let's just talk to you. We've now connected him with some of our recruitment team. But I think what hit me was that he wasn't at a veterans event. We weren't talking to veterans in general. We were talking about kind of the crisis, the health crisis that we found ourselves in and how to dig out of it. And it was just a moment in time, but he recognized that there was an opportunity for help. He also used the term, and I didn't like this, but he said, I just felt like, at this point, I'm just getting older and I'm going to age out of this eventually. I said, what do you mean by age out of this? He says, I'll expire. And I said, yeah, no, I know that it's hard to even express that, reflect that back. What would you say to the people that are out there right now that are just dealing with it, that are just living with it? What would you say to them?
I would say help is there.
Yeah.
we have what you need.
Right.
We are able to help you not only physiologically deal with it, but also
Right.
mentally.
Right.
We have a support system. We can connect you with your fellow veterans who have been experiencing the sort of like ups and downs of the same illness,
Right.
as well as, dealing with the bureaucracy
Right.
of it all.
You guys navigate that really well. I don't know how. Yeah, I'm sure it's taken its toll on everybody, but
Yeah, so we're here for you, and I
Great.
think we can really help you live a life that you deserve.
that's great. Well, make sure that you reach out to us, that you just start the conversation with us. I want everybody out there to know, if you have questions, if you have concerns, post comments. Make sure that you leave comments for us. Share your stories with us. And we're here for you to share your struggles with us as well. We are working every day to find solutions to the things that you're dealing with. And we are so fortunate that you are leading the charge. I cannot thank you enough for what you do every day. Yeah, I can't. It's fascinating to me. And thank you for being here. And I know a lot of people out there really needed to hear this today. So thank you for being here. Promise me you'll come back.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.